I will speak free, and that's my first time in front of an English-speaking auditorium to speak free. If there are some strange words in my English, don't worry, it's just Danish. Danish is my first foreign language, and sometimes it is mixed up with English. I want today tell about, yesterday I told you much about facts about Documenta archive and Documenta history and what our plans are for the future. Today I want to tell you more subjective stories from my daily work with the archival material. And in preparing in advance to this conference, Suman sent us panelists a range of questions we could answer concerning the future of archives and museums. One question, for example, are collections necessary? What role does community play? Is it possible to redistribute collections through sharing? And I want to tell 3 stories to answer a little bit on these questions. I will start with one of our digitization projects. As I told yesterday, we had a big digitization project of our images, of our image collection of the archive in 2006, 2007. And of course, at that time, we had some curatorial lines, some structures, some standards, some measures that were important for us to make a change to collect the material which should be digitized. And but there were some points of discussion. For example, when we came to the Arnold Bode estate, and I was together with our former head of archive, Karin Stengel, and she and I, we were going through the material. And in the Arnold Bode estate, there was a little box of 78 slides, classical glass slides. They were showing, Arnold Bode was a designer, they were showing Arnold Bode's drafts of wallpapers. And I said, oh, I don't think that will fit in our guiding lines for our digitization project. But Karin Stengel had some good arguments to say, okay, this is maybe not that important part of our bequest of Arnold Bode, but Arnold Bode was a designer and it could be relevant for our users to have this part in the digitization project. So we took it in and we described it and we cataloged it. And last week we had a visitor from a researcher from Finland, an artist, Minna Henriksson, and she is working on, as you know, Finland has a long border with Russia and was under this influence of this Cold War conflict we as divided country in Germany experienced in the 1950s, 60s and 70s, 80s too. So she's interested in how Arnold Bode handled this conflict, this Cold War conflict in the exhibition. And so she told, I've seen you have these wallpaper designs, so I want to make a website about my project, and I will use these wallpaper designs to make a good layout for this website. And I thought, bingo, there is a hit. So I want to say with this story, I think it is very important for archives and museums to look at the gaps and the silencings of the archives, as you showed yesterday. So there, of course, there must be a guiding line, but sometimes it can be very worth it to look a little bit around to these silent pieces of your collections. That is very important. So I think that is the first point I want to take. The next story is there is a very famous painter in Germany, 19th century painter. His name is Karl Spitzweg. and he's a typical genre painter of the first half of the 19th century, the National Romantic period, as we call it. And he is known for painting typical German figures, the poor poet, street life in the old cities, family going a Sunday walk. And one of his most famous paintings shows a librarian, an old librarian with white hair, bent back, standing on a 2-meter high library ladder with a book under the one arm and a book under the other arm and a book between his legs and a book in the one hand and a book in this hand. And he's reading simultaneously in these books, and he's standing on this ladder in front of a huge library bookshelf wall filled with precious books. And sometimes in my work I feel this painting is called the bookworm, and I feel like a data worm, and because I'm a book people, I'm analog, but since 2016 we have many colleagues in our team who are born digital, and they have another view on the thing, on what is happening. So I feel my sort of knowledge very anachronistic and old-fashioned sometimes. Sometimes I can feel like this walking, talking manual, a little bit like a mammoth. So I see my knowledge. I've been working for the archive and on documentary history since 2004. Is an exclusive knowledge, but that means my knowledge often excludes other people. Of course, I help our researchers and I help our visitors, and I help my colleagues every day. But in many aspects, my sort of knowledge is not the future. So I would say we have to find new ideas, new developments of how we can share our knowledge. And one thing could be crowd contributing. I would call it crowd contributing. Including, for example, the local community in taking part in discussions about artists in our collections, about documenters' history, making open virtual platforms where we can include these people, not only the research fellows but also these amateurs, because there is much knowledge in these amateurs too. So I think that would be the second point. The third point is in December we were contacted by a scientist from the University of Kassel, somebody who is working together with one of the departments we will work together with in the future, from the Department of Linguistics. His name is Jan-Oliver Rüdiger, and he presented a fantastic project in advance to Documenta 14. He had established 5 servers around the world, and all these servers have collected tweets about Documenta 14. So now he has 1 million tweets about Documenta 14, and he will compare these tweets about Documenta 14 with our press clipping collection from the 50s and 60s, and see how the German language and the international language, because we have international press clippings and national press clippings, has developed. And that is so fantastic. So I think it is very worth it to have this outlook and to have this cooperation with different, not only with our profession, but with different professions. And that is this cooperation, this collaboration out of borders, that is very important, I think. That is the third point. Do I have time for a fourth point? 2 minutes. I want to make a remark on the legal discussion we had in the morning. So since 1st March, since last Thursday, we have in Germany one of the most restricted press clipping laws in Europe. And we ask ourselves, how could this happen? And because, for example, our press clipping database showed the full text press clipping. So the researchers could search in the full text. And we are now forced to take this away from our database. What happened there, and we asked some people who know what is going on behind the scenes, and we heard that in January, 2 of the biggest yellow publishers in Germany had a dinner with Chancellor Angela Merkel in order to defend their online archives. So I want to say we have to be aware of, to be in front of the situation. Now we will alliance with 12 other museums and archives in Germany, and we are writing an open letter to Chancellor Angela Merkel to ask her, we are the future, we are of public interest, our collections are necessary. How could this happen? And we will see forward what will happen, but the next 4 years, the next election period, there will be no open access to public content in press clippings in Germany. So that's my comments. Thank you.